On. Welcome back, everybody, to Hoops HD. It is Monday
Woohoo!
night, November 17th. Time for our weekly Hoops HD report that we are going to be doing every Monday night from now until about the end of time,
Until
something like that,
until
uh,
the end of June at least.
until the end of June. I'm your host, Chad Sherwood. We got John Teitel and David Griggs up top with me here. Matt Zakowski and Joby Fortson joining us as well. This is the Hoops HD report. And we're going to be talking about anything and everything going on, at least among the major conferences. And we got graphics. One of these days, I'm
We
going to remember to put
do.
these up at the start of the show. I keep forgetting, but
Yeah, like that is I mean that is just beautiful artwork there. I don't props to the staff that put that together. Hours in
anyhow,
the making.
let's get to. Should we get right into games?
With yeah.
All right, let's do it. Let's see if I can get this screen share back up here on this other screen. There we go. I figured we'd start tonight in the Big 12. It had quite a handful of notable games, uh, of which I've highlighted a few of the more notable ones. But maybe Tytel, you are an Arizona guy. I know you want to talk about another team in this conference as well, but first of all, why don't we start with that Arizona UCLA game because yet another impressive win by your Wildcats this week.
Twist my arm shut. I will talk about the game. Available to everybody on a little network I like to call Peacock in Inglewood, I believe, at the Intuit Forum. So certainly a bit of a, if not home court advantage, at least home area advantage for the Bruins. Luckily, Donovan Dent was not playing at full capacity. Only 5 of 16 shooting, committed 3 turnovers, and the big star, surprisingly, because we saw Koa Pete in the opener against Florida, but he was a pretty underwhelming, actually. 7 points and 4 fouls in only 21 minutes. But Anthony Del Orso, the Campbell transfer off the bench, the senior, got it rolling from distance. 4 of 7 behind the arc, a team high 20 points, only 1 turnover, and they had enough to hang on. I was impressed by the balance just because a lot of people assume that if Koa isn't scoring 30 a game, they're going to be in trouble. And they trailed in the second half for a lot. So, like, I'm glad that they were able to get the job done. UCLA has a history of ruining our early non-conference slates in the years past. But definitely to work on the three-point defense. UCLA was 9 of 17 behind the arc. But obviously, any win you can get over a Mick Cronin team in California, I'll take it.
Yeah, here's the rest of that upcoming schedule here, and Matt, uh, out of the frying pan into the fryer kind of for Arizona. You beat UCLA. Here you go. You got UConn staring down you down just a week from now.
Yeah, if you could pull that
Less than a
off,
week. Yeah.
they're certainly like in pole position to get a one seed because you'll now have 3 wins over what should probably be protected seeds, or in UCLA's case, fairly close away from home. So you do that, we're really talking. Even if you lose, whatever, no no damage done really, unless it's a 30 point loss.
Yeah.
Even then, this is still a team that's just off to an incredible start. We saw Houston and Auburn scheduled this way last year, Arizona doing it this. I just think there's so much more to be gained from playing a schedule like that. The idea is to win it all. So, like what you do in November, even if you lose, you can make your team better. I just love what Arizona's done.
Yeah, and Joby, I'm also going to pull up Houston here a
hmm
little as it loads in here a bit, but they had the other team with an impressive win this week over an Auburn team. I mean, maybe the story is more about how well Auburn played after they played so
I was about to
lousy
say that,
early in
Chad.
the
What
season, but they did
what's
get
wrong
they
with
did
the
get a nice
graphic?
win.
I
Is it not
know
showing up?
I know who Houston is. I know Houston's going to be fighting for a one seed. Houston is a known quantity. Given the coaching change at Auburn, I'm actually impressed with Auburn, and we'll see if by transitive property how this works for Houston long term. Because maybe Auburn, I feel like it's rising all boats on the resume on that one. Kind of like as we were talking about with Arizona, UConn. Hey, UConn will help you rise a boat, and same with vice versa for UConn on Arizona. And so Houston continues to be challenging for the number one overall seed this early in the season. That yeah, this was their first, you could say, test. Though I think Oakland's a decent little team, given the fight they gave Purdue. Um,
Chet,
Houston
oh, never
continues
mind. I got it.
yeah, Houston continues to be Houston, and I hate to sound, pedantic like that, but it is true. They're awesome, and they will be competing for this conference title.
Yeah, a quick note here for those familiar with the show. We got improved graphics that we started to break out a little bit last week. I could try to use them a lot more as we go forward here. Takes a moment to load. Sometimes we may get some flickering on your screen there as we load them in, but we got player stats and everything for you to look at as we look at in depth at some of these teams right there on the screen. But a few other teams. Well, Griggs, we're going back almost a week now, but Iowa State had that nice win last Monday over Mississippi State, and they're sitting here out to a 3-0 start as well.
Yeah, not quite as tested as Arizona and Houston, although that was just such a good game between Auburn and Houston. But I really like this Iowa State team as well. I think that they're a potential protected seed. A game against Creighton in that tournament coming up that they're playing in the Players era, and they're going to get some good competition there. They go to Purdue. I mean, that might be a bit of a test, you could say, arguably. But no, I mean this is another really good team.
And Titel, I know you want to discuss one other team here. How about the Utes, who haven't done much of note so far, I don't think.
Well, they have won 4 games, albeit all home wins and all way down, way in quad four. But first year coach Alex Jensen, you know how I love first year coaches, but he's winning and he's got 2 more home cupcakes this week, which means they should be 6-0 when they head to Palm Springs next week for one of the seemingly 19 different Acrisure tourneys we got going on. It certainly helps when your opponents are only shooting 59% at the free throw line. But the biggest surprise for me has been Terrence Brown, who we see atop the player stats there. He proved he was a great scorer last year at Fairleigh Dickinson. He led the NEC with 21 points a game. He's made a seamless transition to the Big 12. 24 points a game is number 12 in the nation. His minutes have actually gone down from last year, but he's still scoring more. Unbelievable.
I will take a little issue with you.
I do want to interject, Chad, real quick. The fact that he would say and downplay Tim Miles's San Jose State.
Yes.
I mean,
I can't
I am
imagine.
shocked that I'm the one who has to bring this up.
I would say Titel though he is averaging 23.8 points a game, but he's not doing it against the Big 12. He's doing it against Tim Miles and Holy Cross
Which
and
is
Weber
better
State.
than the Big 12.
I don't know.
Hey, I mean, this is a man that's taking on the dark web.
Matt, maybe we should discuss a couple of teams that did suffer losses in this conference, notably the 2 that I've highlighted there. Texas Tech, the loss to Illinois, and BYU, that crazy comeback that they almost pulled off against UConn.
But that's what I was trying to flip flop that Texas Tech Illinois game with Louisville and Kentucky, and then created Gonzaga after that. So I kind of got squeezed a little bit from why watching it. Texas Tech gave a great effort in Champaign there, almost came out with the win. Obi Toppin did absolutely everything he could to pull him out, but did have quite enough help from his other teammates. But that's still, not a bad loss at all. Illinois, real solid team in that. And I said, I think Texas Tech, they'll be a quality tournament team somewhere wearing white in the first round.
I love this Texas Tech team. I know that they don't have any wins of note on their profile yet, but oh, okay. Well, yeah. I still really like Texas Tech. They're my pick to win it all, so I must like them some.
And I forgot, wrong member of the Toppin family. I was going back a few years, but yeah.
Yeah, one Toppin or another. It's okay. Yeah, maybe we'll talk about that UConn. Well, you know what? Why don't we just jump right over to the Big East and talk about that UConn BYU game as we talk about UConn. But actually, first, I forgot here. We are supposed to pull up the upcoming schedule here. So here's the rest of the upcoming games here. Tulsa, Kansas State is actually a close game as we record this right now. But we've got Kansas Duke tomorrow night.
Kansas Duke, sort of a big game.
We've got Arizona, UConn.
Where are they playing at this year? That I know it's the Legends Classic. I just forget where it's at.
Garden, I believe.
Okay, it is. All right. And how about that one? Arizona, Connecticut. I think I'm actually more excited about that. I'm not as enamored with Kansas as I normally am. They're still really good. They're just not at the level that we've oftentimes seen Kansas at. I don't think they're as good as Duke. I don't think they're as good as Arizona and Houston and some of the other teams we've talked about in this league. You kind of rushed over it real quick. What do you guys think about K-State? They've had some, I wouldn't say tests, but at least quizzes, and they've done okay. But they're sweating out Tulsa tonight. All right.
Anyone,
Yeah.
anyone have an
Yeah.
opinion on
Yeah.
Kansas
I
State?
mean, they
Because I
beat
really,
Cal.
I
They
don't, I
beat
don't
Cal,
know.
and I mean, yeah, at least that's a Power 4 or 5 team. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
the script is yet to be written. The
Yeah.
the game though that Chad you did not highlight that I think is likely to happen. It's no guarantees, but is that tournament where Texas Tech is looking to play Purdue, and that will be a fun game if it comes to fruition,
Yeah,
which I think it
potential
will, because
Texas
Memphis
Tech.
does not look good.
Mm.
Wake has, as we mentioned, has shown spark against Michigan. We'll see if they can do it against Tech. But I think most likely we're going to have a Texas Tech Purdue final, and that'll be fun. A lot of fun.
I didn't even highlight the games coming up next Monday because number one, they're a week away, and but those are all out of that Players Era Championship, and there's just some great games at some of the other events down there. Uh, but we'll be talking about those. We talked about them actually last night in our when we recorded our uh, whatever we called that thing last night, Griggs.
In-season tournament.
In-season tournament show, November Madness show, whatever we called it. You made up about 5 different names for it as we went along. So,
Yeah.
but I said we'd go to the Big East, so let's go to the Big East because uh, Joby, I want to talk about this UConn win over BYU, and UConn looked so impressive. Yes, BYU was undermanned because they were down not only one player but actually two players after the injury early on. But then BYU somehow came storming back, and maybe there are some question marks with this UConn team.
I don't know. I mean, it's when there's sometimes when it is too easy against a quality opponent like BYU, sometimes when it's too easy, the foot comes off the gas. I think that's what happened. I think it was almost a classic case of that. BYU deserves credit, but
I think that, yeah.
UConn didn't put them away like they should have. But that doesn't mean that UConn won't be putting down a banner, in a few months like they've done several times in the 2020s. So I'm still a believer in UConn. Yeah, they're in that mix of ones and two seeds right now, and the BYU win will age well, and so they're on their way, and they kind of need it because we'll talk as we go through this conference. They aren't going to get a ton of great opportunities in conference unless St. John's completely turns it around and Georgetown doesn't wake up from this dream.
Yeah, well, maybe we'll get to the Georgetown the St. John streams here in a moment. Matt, I'd say one of the more slightly disappointing stories early on actually has been your Marquette team. Already have two losses. The home loss against a decent but not great Maryland team. Yeah,
Yeah, that's what like the Indiana one. I didn't love the margin, but I can understand, and that's the type of team that traditionally has done well against shotgun pressure teams, and that if you can avoid the turnovers, you'll get open threes. Maryland, on the other hand, that felt like a game that was tailor made for like struggle with turnovers, not a great shooting team in that. I thought that was a great matchup for Marquette, and they go lo and behold, they put up 1.15 points per possession, and it made it look way too easy in that for Marquette defense. And like I said, the Indiana game I could write off as hey, whatever, not a great stylistic matchup. This is one that should have been, and it was way too easy for Maryland much of the day.
yeah, I guess I mean, interesting home game against coming up against Dayton, a pretty good Dayton team. That's going to be your next test here in a couple nights.
Now, this is where this next stretch here, Mark, wants to rebound and get into tournament consideration, probably needs to win the next four and may even need one of those two road games that look real hard, but when you've put yourself behind the eight ball sub, you might have to do something to get yourself back on the right track, and that might have to mean winning in Wisconsin.
The game against Dayton is one that I almost think Marquette has to have.
Oh,
Indiana, it wasn't that they lost, but the way that they
yeah.
lost. And then I'm kind of with you, Matt. I think that was the Maryland game was one that they should have won. They feel like that if they're as good as I thought that they were, that would be one that you would expect them to win at home, and they didn't. So I have questions about Marquette, and they better not lose to Dayton. But the story in this conference isn't it the Hoyas?
Let's pull them up here. Griggs, go ahead. I'll let you talk a little Hoya hoop.
Okay, and I want Tytel to get in on this too, but like look at this profile. They went to Maryland, the same Maryland team that just won at Marquette, won there. It was early in the year. It was kind of a blob, unexciting game, but still, that is a road win that I think is going to age well. And they beat a really good Clemson team. Now, these probably aren't protected seed caliber teams, but the fact that Georgetown is actually beating teams that in games that aren't just home bye games is a massive improvement. And I think they've looked as good as anybody in the conference. I know that it was an exhibition game, but maybe the Kentucky game revealed more than what we thought. This is a team with a lot of promise. They also won a game at George Washington, who's pretty good. They're winning games. They didn't used to do that.
Yeah.
Well, Titel, he asked you about him. Do you agree with him?
I am enjoying the dream, as Joby said, and I hope they don't wake up because it looks amazing. Can they beat Dayton and BYU back to back next week? Like if you can beat Maryland and Clemson, like anything's possible. Although, how about the fact that we're living in a world where the JNG for Maryland and Clemson is below that of Seton Hall, who's 78? Like, I'm not ragging on the JNG. Like Seton Hall's undefeated. It just blows my mind.
Oh,
Seton
Seton
will
Hall's
not
one
be
of
78 next for very long.
Give it time.
Yeah.
That's one of those. Give it. I think we're going to see both Clemson and Maryland's J and Gs go up over time. But hey, when we get to the A10, what is Dayton doing? They are scheduling up a storm, man.
They need to.
We're seeing the Marquette. We're seeing Georgetown. I know they're on Virginia's schedule. We got a lot of Dayton.
Good for them. I mean, that's what the A10 was not doing last year and should have been doing.
Titel, I know you want to talk a little bit about Butler, also Thad Matta's squad here, who's off to a 3-1 start with a real close loss at SMU.
Very close to being 4-0. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, sadly, the lesson is that if your fourth game of the year is at SMU, you should probably not have 3 home games against teams outside the top 300 to start off the season. He does get credit. They had the lead at halftime. They almost overcame a 10-point deficit on the road before losing by 2. Does not get any easier this weekend. They head to the Greenbrier to face South Carolina and Joby's Hoos, who are undefeated combined as well, 7-0. The roster is fascinating. So they brought in Michael Ajayi. He led the West Coast Conference in scoring at Pepperdine 2 years ago. Now he leads the Big East in defensive rebounding. They have Johan Traore. He led the Big West in field goal percentage at UCSB two
He's a
years
great
ago.
shooter.
Now he's shooting even better in the Big East, 60% from the field. And freshman Jack McCaffrey, his father Fran is the new head coach at Penn. His brother Connor is not only one of his assistant coaches in Indianapolis, he's dating a woman you might have heard of, Caitlin Clark.
There you go. And how excited, Joby, are you to see Butler versus Virginia in a ballroom in West Virginia under the chandelier?
I'm very excited.
Well, there's no football game this weekend, so maybe a bunch of Virginia fans will make the trek to the western part of what was once one state.
There's a quick look at the rest of the schedule here. We mentioned a few of these games. Obviously, the Arizona-UConn game is the huge one. Villanova-LaSalle gets part of the Philly Big Five classic there. Xavier, Georgia, unfortunately, Mr. Sleek is not here with us to discuss that game.
Wow.
It's a
I don't
rivalry.
know.
Oh, it's a massive, massive rivalry.
Yeah, man.
Outside of the games and as part of the Players Era coming up next Monday, it's not a lot to circle, I don't think, in this conference for this week, though.
No, the Dayton Marquette game, I think that there's a sense of urgency for both teams, even though Dayton's unbeaten, they need that one, and Marquette can't afford to lose it. So while it's early, I just get the sense that those teams feel bubblish already, even though it's only November.
And this one, I think, yeah, Butler, this is an opportunity for them. They can win those 2 games, and suddenly they might be building a little tournament profile.
Yeah.
Joe, we were talking about your Who's. Why don't we just jump right over to the ACC and heck, you want to talk about them? They are 4-0.
Yeah, the schedule hasn't been, the most difficult necessarily, but Marshall's a decent team, and it's more important is how they're winning. They're looking very good. They're winning comfortably. Even the Marshall game, I think at one point they were up by like 40. Yeah, they scored 61 in the first half. And as followers of Virginia, when you hear them win a game scoring 61, you think, oh, they won 61-50, in Bennett ball. But no, now they're getting 61 in the first half against a decent Marshall team. DeRitter is the real deal. He's going to be in the NBA next year. He's one and done, which makes sense because he's a 24-year-old freshman who's played professional ball for 5 years in the Netherlands. Um, so, thank you for the waiver, NCAA. But you also have Grunlow. You have 3-point shooters out the wazoo. We're going to see if this Nate Oates ish, Dave Odom.
Odom?
Uh, but the Odom Oates sort of way of playing. Let's see if this transition can work. Right now, so far so good. But as you can see, there'll be some tests coming up. Northwestern, Butler are reasonable tests at the Greenbrier. That will be the better gauge because you got one team who might be thinking NIT tournament, and the other who, I'm sorry, Butler's probably not going to be there, but they're going to be they're a Power Four team, a Power Five team that has aspirations of it at least.
Matt, I know you want to talk about Louisville, who is
Man,
sitting here 4-0 with that win over Kentucky.
and that was what, man, they had to struggle in the last 10 minutes not to get 100 points. They score 100 in the first three, and just, man, such a fun style of basketball, a ton of threes, really good guard play. I mean, and then Brown will be playing. Cal Brown will be playing 1 year and 1 year only in college. Unfortunately, like Conwell is senior as well. But man, yeah, the other guys, Wooley's a fun player to watch, and that McNeely a sharp shooter. Frew really good. I don't think Frew's gonna be in college real long too, because 6'11" guys that can move and protect the rim like that don't spend real long times in college either. So this is a squad, they could win it all. Like they're that good.
They're that good. It's hard for me to disagree with you. I mean, we're in a day and age where the ACC does not have a lot of teams where we can say, "Hey, they're that good." I think Duke, we could say that about as well. In fact, Griggs, you want
go
to
back to
talk a little
Louisville
Duke?
real quick.
Okay, let's talk a little more Louisville.
Okay.
Go ahead.
One of the concerns I have about Louis, like they do go to Tennessee, that's going to be big. I just one of the things I like about this schedule, Cincinnati, Memphis, both on it, Indiana. These are teams that they
Arkansas,
used to play regularly, but haven't played regularly for a while. That are all on the schedule this year. They should play those three every year.
Because Pat Kelsey gets it.
Yeah, he
That's what I
does.
think the answer is to that.
Yeah.
There are
Yeah.
coaches that Louisville had that I think, were afraid to play some of these games.
Yeah, I think they were. Like they didn't want to lose. I think like that Memphis Louisville series used to be like white hot, not as hot as Kentucky, but pretty damn close. And Cincinnati was always a big rival, and Indiana was not really a rivalry, but a regularly played game. I just like to see Louisville playing those teams again because, like you said, Pat Kelsey gets it. And they're going to be tested going in the conference play. I just wanted to kind of point that out.
Yep. And
and
highlighted right
Chad, I'll
there. They're
push back on
February
where you were
14th,
going.
Baylor. Go ahead.
Yeah.
The ACC spent so much money in NIL. They have legit teams there. I mean, Louisville's is a great story. They're ranked now, et cetera. But they're not the only. It's not just Duke, Carolina, Louisville. NC State is real. Virginia put a ton of
they are.
money in. I mean, there's a lot of money flowing into this conference from boosters, et cetera, in the NIL era, and you're seeing some of the production now come to fruition on the court.
Yeah,
And I thought, like,
NC State struggled but squeezed out the win over a pretty good VCU team tonight.
Pretty
Sorry,
good,
Matt,
yeah.
go ahead. Yeah.
And I'd say I liked how North Carolina looked now. That Seth Chumble injury, we're going to see if that torpedoes them a little bit because they didn't have a ton of backcourt depth to begin with. But if they can overcome that, he comes back relatively healthy toward February, say like January, February. I think that's a good Carolina team too, man. Visar was a real nice guy out of the portal. That kid can play too. He's not long for college either.
And Wilson's just insane. He's going to be
Oh,
player
yeah.
of the year. He is going to be player of the year in the ACC. I'm calling it right now.
Tytel, when we did our preseason show, one of the teams that I actually thought make some noise here, I think Rocco agreed with us, and maybe you wanted to get a few thoughts of them. How about this Stanford team? Off to a 3-0 start. Haven't been tested yet.
So I think they're actually atop the Big Sky standings. If you look at their opponents, Montana State and Portland State. I don't know what the heck's going on with that, but they should be able to beat Louisiana tonight to improve to 4-0. And then they have a tough little home game on Friday against the Seattle team that's just a 2-point loss away from being undefeated themselves. And plenty of great freshmen this year. One of the most surprising to me has to be Abuka Okore. He was the Gatorade State Player of the Year in New Hampshire. played for one of the best high school teams in the country at Brewster Academy, and he flies 3,000 plus miles west of Palo Alto. He's giving Cam Boozer some serious competition for Rookie of the Year, maybe even Player of the Year in the conference. He's leading the league, as you see right there, 25 points a game, 3 steals a game. I know the competition hasn't been great, but the stats are legit.
They are. Let's see what happens. It's going to be a few weeks till we really see some real
Yeah.
opponents here. Minnesota has not looked good so far this year. Maybe Santa Clara potentially on November 28th there, and Griggs will get to Santa Clara in a bit. You and I can have a discussion
yeah.
of that when we
Team
get to the West
that
Coast
should be in the
Conference.
top 25.
Uh, Quickly, this week's upcoming schedule. Obviously, the huge Duke-Kansas game tomorrow night. Uh, Not certain what else we're circling. Louisville, Cincinnati maybe coming up here.
Yeah.
Uh, you can see there's a lot of games going on down all the way down there till you get to Syracuse, Houston, and Notre Dame,
Syracuse,
Kansas.
Houston. I think Houston wins that one going away. Um,
Boston College Davidson could be a close game.
it, in the annals of who gives a crap.
I guess.
I,
Let me go back because we forgot to discuss one of the scores, Griggs. Congratulations to Boston College for losing at home to Central Connecticut for the first time ever.
the
God,
epitome of brutality. That is.
And yet
Another
they
result.
beat Temple. I mean, it's
So, Wake Forest is playing Houston. They had a really good showing up in Michigan. They had a chance to beat them, lost in overtime. I'm not completely sold on Wake, but I'm starting to open up to the fact that they might be one of those sort of dark horse teams.
you mean the game against Texas Tech and then potentially against Purdue or Memphis? I assume you
Yeah,
mean
that's
they're
going
not
to be
playing
hard.
Houston.
Yeah,
They're not playing Houston though.
they're not. Okay, they're playing Texas Tech. I'm sorry,
Yes.
my mistake. Yeah,
they're going to beat. They're going to. I think it's pretty clear. They're going to lose to Texas Tech, but they're going to beat Memphis. Memphis is a very good team. They're not.
they haven't shown it.
Let's jump over to the Big Ten Conference and Joby, where do we start out in this league? It actually had a pretty good week here. There's only two losses in the
I
entire
love that
conference.
Illinois win over
Yeah,
Texas Tech.
yeah. I know you and Matt both want to discuss
Yeah.
Illinois, so why don't we
Yeah.
start with Illinois? Go ahead.
Yeah, no, Illinois has surprised me because I thought this would tournament team, sure, but a win like that, I know it's at home, but a win like that is where you start to build towards resumes, especially in a deep conference like the Big Ten, where you can, at the end of the year, people go, "Wow, Illinois has a really nice resume." Yeah, with good quality wins over tournament teams, a protected seed. I think Texas Tech's going to be a protected seed. Griggs thinks they're going to be national champions. And so I think that is a key flex win that if Illinois can keep it up with what is a decent out of conference schedule, as I remember, they that will establish Illinois in a bracket situation and protected seed level. And when you just stare down at the resume, and so good for them. That's a huge pivot win for the season this early on. Sure, we had a lot left to play, but that's the sort of thing you build upon.
Matt?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, after the wild and crazy offseason where they lost some guys unexpectedly, Maurice Johnson probably key among them, went over to Michigan and that, but they brought enough in the portal and they kept enough. So they kept Kylan Boswell and that kept Harvick House, kept Jake Davis. And that what they brought in, you kept the one of the Avici's brothers, you brought the other one in, and with one of the other they brought in, especially man, this freshman class from locally from around the I think the St. Louis area, the one kid, and then the Mirkovich, man, those freshmen are really good, and that with what you kept in, it's a nice formula of a very good roster, and what I think it's going to probably be a protected seat at this point.
Yeah, and Griggs, we can't not discuss Purdue going to Alabama, which might be the best win anybody's had all season, potentially.
I would argue that it is, and I mean there have been some good wins. Houston, beating Auburn and Birmingham was certainly good. Alabama going and winning at the Johnnies was really good. But I think as an individual win for Alabama to win at St. John's, how do you not just give more credit to Purdue who went and won at Alabama? And that was just a great basketball game early in the year. they're ranked number one and they deserve it. It's they did. I mean, Akron, they beat up on Akron's probably going to be. Well, I mean, even though their other three games were bye games, I still just think that that win at Alabama takes it to another level. They could end up winning the Players Era tournament too,
Uh, Purdue?
or whatever tournament
Well,
they're in.
because they don't play in the Players Era, so
Yeah.
that would be impressive if they win the
Yeah,
Players Era. No, Titel, they've actually got Memphis, and then that Memphis Texas Tech Wake Forest event that we've seemed to be keep talking about
yeah, that's a hell
tonight
of a.
so far. That's a hell of an event, but I know Titel, you want to talk about another team though. How about my Scarlet Knights?
I mean, I know that 3 home wins over Rider, Lehigh, and Maine do not warrant a ton of attention, but considering you had a losing record last year and then lost Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey to the top 5 picks of the draft, it's nice to see that Coach Peichel still has some talent to work with. You get 2 more cupcakes this week, meaning you should be 5-0 when heading to Vegas for the Players Era next week.
A little
And
worried
even though
about
they
Central Connecticut. I'm sorry, but a little bit worried. But go
You
ahead.
should be, but I like your chances. Even though they lost one Dylan, they still have another one in the form of Dylan Grant. He's put the team on his back. 18 points, 7 boards a game, shooting 60% from the field, and frankly, looking like the best Canadian import we've seen since Rachel McAdams, eh, Chad?
Hey, I'll take it. I'll take it. Um, yeah, as far as the rest of the conference goes, uh, see what we got here. I guess maybe we should mention this Michigan team, Joey, real quick as well. The win at TCU struggled, but they did what they had to do on the road.
Struggle against
Yeah,
Wake as well.
Yeah,
yeah,
and the
but they're
Wake win.
winning. And they're
Hmm.
winning, and they whipped Oakland. I know, which Purdue, I've referenced it before. Purdue didn't whip. Purdue, had to struggle against. So I think Michigan's still on track. That they are still on track for a protected seat. This is a good team. They have those wins now, whether, a road win, against a Power Five team, and a good win against a Wake team that I think, as Griggs was pointing out, this could be that sneaky team that's talking about a tournament bid later this year. So I don't think there's any reason to be panicky in Ann Arbor. You've got to take care of business. The San Diego State game will tell us a lot about both teams, as it
Hmm.
were. And then can Michigan then follow it right back up against Auburn? Hey, that a lot of fun in that one. After what we saw this weekend.
Real quick, it's worth giving a shout out to Nebraska as well. That win over Oklahoma.
That was a
Uh,
fun game.
It's a
yeah.
great win for
Yeah,
Nebraska.
Yeah.
and
Great win.
yeah, that game had the feel. I mean, it didn't have much of a spotlight on it at all. But those are two teams that might make runs at the bubble, and that might end up being, in the end, a highly scrutinized game. And you see it all the time. A game that didn't seem like it was a big deal and that no one paid attention to at the time ends up being heavily referenced.
Agree 100%.
Yeah.
Upcoming schedule this week. Tonight, starting a little while here after we finish our show, Oregon
Yeah.
State, Oregon. But we got Michigan State, Kentucky. That's the other half of the Classic tomorrow night with the Duke Kansas game. We got Illinois, Alabama on Wednesday.
That's a good one. Ooh.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Purdue, Memphis, and then potentially against Texas Tech coming up here. Nebraska could be playing Mississippi State or Kansas State coming up here. And Wisconsin going to BYU.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rematch of a real fun tournament game last year.
Well, give BYU credit for scheduling all this. I'm seeing BYU on a lot of schedules coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, Rocco had mentioned that they wanted to schedule hard and they succeeded.
We've got a lot of upcoming games. Let's jump over though to the SEC. Uh, well, I guess maybe we should start, Griggs, with our defending national champions who did bounce back with a pair of wins over Florida State and Miami,
Yeah.
doing what they need to do, I guess, in their in-state games here.
Yeah, so you look at Florida, they started off with a loss to Arizona. No shame there. They really had to sweat out Florida State on their own home court, which was kind of a surprise, but no shame, especially since they won. And then they kind of ran away from Miami. There is no, I mean, to when a lot of teams probably way more than I wish would doing it, have done nothing but play and win home bye games, and they've gone out and tested themselves reasonably difficultly 3 times. You can't really frown upon that. I just don't think, I mean, when they started off as the defending national champs, I just think it's just hard to sort of live up to that. And they didn't, while they have won, they haven't won as impressively as maybe you thought the third or the fourth ranked team should, whatever they're ranked.
They're actually ranked 10th right now because they do have a
Because
loss.
of the loss, yeah. But they started off really high. Um, but how can you be disappointed? And it's like, yeah, they've been disappointing. Well, look at, I mean, they've gotten 2 really nice wins, and they've played a tougher schedule than most teams so far.
Uh, as far as some other teams in this conference here, uh, Titel, we got a bunch of undefeated teams, including South Carolina.
Roller coaster ride continuing for Coach Lamont Paris. Year 1, 21 losses. Year 2, 26 wins. Year 3, 20 losses. Now he's undefeated to start year 4. If they beat Radford at home on Tuesday, then they'll be 4-0 when they head to the Greenbrier to face Butler and Northwestern, a combined 7-1 amongst those two. The key so far, perimeter defense, only allowing 22% shooting behind the arc. That's top 15 in the nation. And with all due respect to one of Rocco's favorites, Mongolian Mike, the best player on the Gamecocks has been Michi Johnson Jr. He scored under 10 points a game in each of his 3 years at Ohio State, but he's now on pace to score more than 10 points a game in each of his 3 years at South Carolina. As with real estate, the lesson is always location, location, location.
hmm Matt, how about the Vanderbilt Commodores? Uh, how good is this team?
I think really, really good. Not getting a whole lot of attention in that, but man, that's what I know. The UCF would lost a touch of it with them barely being Oakland today if they held on, but still,
They did
that
hold
they
on.
okay, and that they won that game very impressively. I had to watch it because I've got some incentive on Vanderbilt doing good this year, but yeah, no, it's a fun team to watch though. And I don't think Mark Byington's gonna be real long for Vanderbilt. Someone a couple steps above the food chain is gonna get him because I think he's one of the best coaches in college basketball right now.
Yeah, Joby, beyond these teams here, I mean, obviously we could want to talk Alabama, Auburn, Arkansas. Where else would you like to go in this league here? Because unfortunately, the league didn't play much instead of other than buy games this week.
Well,
A
let's do
few
it.
spattering runs.
Yeah, everybody's beating Memphis. Why don't we talk about Ole Miss?
Okay, yeah, Ole Miss did last Tuesday got that win over Memphis. May not look quite as impressive anymore, but here they
But
are at 4-0.
and they're starting to get votes in the polls. Austin P is actually a reasonable team out of the OVC. They should take care of them, but it's not like a
Uh,
done deal.
they're
And
they're a son, by the way.
oh, ASUN, that's right. I forgot they
Mhm.
flipped conferences. I switched. But yeah, they've got Iowa and probably Utah following up. So we're going to see the Rebels who have been very competitive for bids and done well at made a tournament last year. That this is a team that I think can I've been on their in-state Egg Bowl brethren, Mississippi State, a lot this year. But I think Ole Miss showed something in that Memphis game that, hey, we're here to play this year, and we're gonna be a contender for the tournament again, and be one of these close to double-digit SEC teams. They're going to challenge for that.
Uh, like I said, not much that we haven't already discussed that happened this week in the SEC. So let's take a look at the rest of the upcoming schedule here. We already mentioned the Kentucky-Michigan State game, which could be a really fun game, actually. Alabama-Illinois also has a chance to be a really good game. Georgia-Xavier, which
I
only
mean,
needs to
that's
sleep
just going to
going to be
be.
Ooh,
I
a
mean, that's
game.
just
That's
yeah.
going to be a game.
yeah.
It's going to be a game. Yes.
Of course, we get into the players era games with games like Auburn, Oregon, Alabama, Gonzaga next week, so it's going to be getting a little bit better. Uh, keep an eye on New Orleans at Mississippi State next Monday. Uh,
Yeah.
Well,
Yes,
that's what
indeed. New
Mississippi
Orleans already
State
has a
thinks too
couple of
much about
scouts.
thinks
Yeah,
a little too much about Thanksgiving. They might be in a little trouble.
yeah. Um,
how about over to the American, where Titel, as we record this, Tulsa down 2 against Kansas State on the road with about 5 minutes left. Uh, Rocco was big on this Tulsa team, if I'm correct, heading into the season as well.
As was I. I mean, Coach Eric
Okay.
Kunkel lost 20 last year, but he's off to a 3-0 start so far. 17-point neutral site win in Annapolis over Rhode Island. Not too shabby. The key's been three-point shooting, 47% behind the arc, number nine in the
Jeez.
nation. And frankly, it's nice to see that teams outside the power conferences can still make good use of transfer players. He brings in David Green from Rhode Island, Miles Barnstable from St. Thomas. Those two have combined for 33 points, 10 boards, 5 assists a game. They're both shooting over 50% from the field.
Yeah, I think if they get this one in the octagon, I'm going to be a believer in them. While they are unbeaten and like they did go on the road and beat Oral Roberts, Oral Roberts is just atrociously bad. They shouldn't have even sweated in that one. But they get this one. That's a hell of a start to the season. And then they've got another winnable game at home, a home bye game. Then they go on the road and are really going to be tested next week
That's a
by
neutral court
Tim
game
Miles and
against
San Jose State.
uh, Northern Iowa's been a little disappointing. Loyola Chicago's been awful. And what are you
Yeah,
doing scheduling both Oklahoma Christian and Manhattan Christian in the same season, Tulsa? Really, really.
yeah, that's terrible.
As
You
far as the
shouldn't schedule either one of them in any season.
Well, when you
as,
combine it with Oral Roberts, they're just being very religious.
when you look at the rest of the league, though, the only team that we thought would be doing anything this season is say they're at number 13, bottom of the standings in Memphis at 1-2 now. Oof,
They've
but
done surprisingly little.
mhm.
They had what I thought was a pretty home. Well, it was not just thought. It was they beat a pretty good San Francisco team, albeit at home. They went to Ole Miss, who's really good. That's a regional matchup rivalry-ish type of game, I guess. And then they came home against UNLV, who had seemingly done even less than Memphis and just got run off the court. Did you all watch that game? At no point did it feel like UNLV was in any danger of losing it.
Look at their schedule ahead too. Purdue,
Yeah.
Texas Tech or Wake, Baylor at Louisville, Vanderbilt at Mississippi State. All teams we've discussed tonight.
Don't
Okay,
don't don't overlook that New Orleans team.
and don't overlook New Orleans. Exactly.
Yeah.
Heck,
I
don't
mean,
overlook Alabama State. They won at UAB. Um,
Yeah, and
right
I
now, I think
applaud
UAB
them
might
for
be a better team than Memphis. So I don't
yeah,
know. Don't,
and I applaud them for scheduling like that. But they need to that was a winnable game at home against
Yeah.
UNLV who probably isn't even a CBI team and they lost that like that.
yeah, yeah, we could talk about them, but my gosh, Montana, Tennessee, Martin,
Yes.
come on. Come on, man. Memphis, we're going to win. We're going to win. We're going to lose two of the three, but beat Memphis. That's crazy.
Yeah.
there's the remaining upcoming schedule, as well as one game I didn't highlight there. Wichita State tomorrow night going to Boise State. And Joby, I know you missed our Mountain West segment last week, so I figure I'll let
Well,
you start
I'm
things off
sorry.
with
I
our.
usually don't come on Wednesdays, so I.
Yeah.
Well, we brought them back to the Hoops HD report just for tonight, just so you could have at it. Go ahead, whatever team you want, the entire league. Go ahead, all yours,
Well,
Mountain West.
I will. You know what? I'm going to give the biggest compliment. Actually, Colorado State, the win at Loyola is actually a solid win for them.
Loyola's pretty bad,
Loyal is
actually.
Yeah,
bad.
and that right now they really are though staring at one bid. And it really is. San Diego State needs to save them, and you along with Utah State. Utah State's actually positioned themselves well, I think, at this stage. But the overall conference is this isn't. I'm not just giving shtick. They've when you play the game, the in the net RPI, Ken Palm game, if you don't execute, it could really, really hurt you. And I have a feeling, the UNLV losses that I just mentioned in the prior team segment, these are going to pile on. Nevada's looking not very good. That like they've taken
They've looked
clearly some steps
awful.
back. Sorry, Tim Miles is in the 350s right now, and Air Force is lower than that. I mean, it's really a struggle right now in this conference. And that is going to then build, whereas in the past, oh, look at all these teams with nets that are top 75. And then thus when you get those wins on the road or at home, you get the extra credit. And then because that pulls you up, that pulls them up and pulls up. I think we could see the exact opposite this year. If the Nets do reflect where the J&G is, for instance, which usually it's not that far off. I guess Kim Palm's an even better one. There aren't a lot. There's not a lot there. And by the way, yeah, 54 predictive Boise State. Um, the committee will not look at a game that was not included in there. The committee is going to notice that you lost to a
Well, there
Division two team. Ken Palm doesn't have that recorded in his deal. The net may or may not. I don't know how they make it up, but
Does
regardless, the committee is going to punish the hell out of them.
It will be on the loss will be on the team sheet. It is not reflected
Yeah.
in any of the metrics other than KPI that is actually on the team sheet. KPIs are the one that factors in D2 losses.
Yeah. Well, the J&G does.
And J&G, which is not on the team sheet, also should be, but it's
As
not.
you noticed by
Yeah.
the 54, 87, 52, 119.
um okay, looking at it, what is the most valued, what is the best win collectively out of the league?
I think
VCU, Utah State, VCU was good.
we just
Yeah.
had it on the screen here, and Matt, I think it's this Utah
Yeah.
State team, which I think is a good team.
Yeah, no, this is a good team that and then you got more time to prove it. I think, and we haven't talked about much of them. We just went back. I think that's a real interesting game at South Florida because I think USF's the one team out of the American that I think might play their way into at-large consideration if they can, and they've got the schedule upcoming lately. So that's one that, again, talk about a pivot game. That might be a pivot game.
Also, Memphis in February. Don't forget that if hopefully Memphis is rebounded by then for their sake.
When you look at Utah State, so they got to win over VCU, who's,
Okay.
we'll say inside the bubble for the sake of argument. I think that's the only one they really have, and they have some poison in this league. I mean, you want to talk about anchors. You got Air Force, you've got Tim Miles because everybody's cheating and holding him back.
Yeah.
But those are two like teams with really unimpressive profiles. Then you've got, I mean, the Boise State Hawaii Pacific has been beaten to death, but that is not the only home bye game loss that this league has endured. And while Utah State and San Diego State might be good teams, it's still hard to go to Wyoming, and it's hard to go to Boise, and it's going to be hard to go to New Mexico, and it's going to be hard to go to Grand Canyon. This is a tough road league, and it might beat itself up to where you get to the end, and it's similar to the A10 last year, to where the team at the top of the league, whoever it is, might be squarely on the bubble if they're even that high.
Yeah.
Titel, we haven't even discussed one of the undefeated teams. What about Wyoming? What about the Cowboys? Come on.
Coach Sundance Wicks lost 20 last year in year number 1 in Laramie, but he's off to a 4-0 start in year 2, 4 home wins. Tough road trip to Sam Houston on Wednesday to face a team that only lost at Utah by single digits last Saturday. Good offensive balance, 4 guys scoring between 11 and 13 a game. And the success is despite a very young roster, only 1 senior among their top 10 scorers. So I think actually next year might be the year that they make the leap.
And
I
after
think
that,
he's a
the
real good
Norfolk
coach.
game.
It's going to happen.
Yeah.
I agree.
Now, I will say this is where you can see in this the net scheduling in this Wyoming. Norfolk State is the perfect team to play because Norfolk State, while their own metrics might be low, they're going to probably have only 2 or 3 losses in the MEAC, and so that's
They
exactly
won't have
what
any.
they-
I mean,
They
may
might
have any.
not. It's very true. Sam Houston, same sort of situation where they're going to play very well in conference. So that's that's what they do to kind of, for lack of a word, game the system a little bit. But this year, I don't think it'll be enough.
Sam Houston might be a little tougher in Conference USA, but you'd have to join us Wednesday night to discuss that, Joby. And the Mountain West a little more. But upcoming schedule here in the league. We mentioned that Wichita State Boise State game tomorrow night. If Boise State gets that does help start to negate that bad loss. It's a team that's undefeated right now in Wichita State.
Yeah. It would help start to negate it.
Helps start to negate it. There's the rest of the games. San Diego State, Michigan is part of coming up Monday night as part of the Players Era. Utah State, Tulane. I don't know what else. New Orleans at Fresno. Fresno could be
Yeah.
in big trouble
Yeah.
with that game. Not
Well,
a good Fresno team.
No,
the
Fresno's terrible. I don't think they win that.
New Mexico, Nebraska, it's an opportunity if nothing else.
Yeah, it is.
It's an
Well, and
opportunity.
I'd like to see the Schizo St. Joe's UNLV. That's going to be, yeah, that's more to just which UNLV team will show up. Yeah, very clearly.
Yeah, that's the game that St. Joe's was able to get back on their schedule after they got thrown out of the Players Era event.
Yeah.
St. Joe's was. That's a story for another day, though. Let's jump over to West Coast Conference here.
Yeah.
And Matt, Gonzaga demolished Creighton, took care of Arizona State on the road. I think Mark Few's team is looking pretty darn good so far.
Yeah, that's what, like I didn't love that roster going in, but I think Mark Few's coaching really well. I did not, man. That we'll bring his name up here in a sec, because I'll probably butcher it. But the Spanish point guard, that kid can play. That's one, yeah. Saint Superi in that kid, man, he is good, and that I think he'll be the starting point guard the due time in that, and that's where I was wondering about them. Worley, he's got playing nicely. I think more as a wing, not a point guard. And then in Grant Foster, just tell him not to shoot threes. But other than that, it's playing really well.
Yeah, and after the Zags, Titel, I've liked the way LMU has played so far. I know they're trailing right now as we record this at the half at UC Santa Barbara, but how about the Lions?
There is one team on tonight's podcast that's 5-0, so we got to show at least a little love for the Lions. Coach Stan Johnson started 1-3 last year. He's trying to stay undefeated as we speak in the mid-major game of the night against fellow unbeaten UCSB. Thank God they've been winning comfortably, though. Shooting 59% at the free throw line is going to eventually bite them in the butt. And I would argue they have the best backcourt trio in the country, which I know sounds ridiculous, but
Whoa.
Rodney Brown, MJ Amy, Jan Veed, combining for 47 points, 8 boards, 9 assists a game.
Which is pretty much all their offense, but
Yeah.
go ahead, Griggs.
The win at UTEP is noticeable, but you're talking about Pine Bluff, Lincoln. I mean, they're good. I think that's a little bit of a stretch, Title, saying that they got the best trio in the country.
I'll say Santa Clara though. Man,
I love this Santa Clara.
these guys are good. They are a tournament team. I'm not kidding when I say.
Oh, I think they are. I think that it's kind of ridiculous. We were getting into it on X, Twitter, whatever the name of that platform is today. That no voter in either poll voted for them, which is kind of a surprise.
Griggs, they have not beaten anybody. I get it. You see road win at a Big East team. It's at Xavier. Xavier may not win any games this season the way they're playing right now.
They've already won a couple. They beat, who was it? Lemoyne. They beat Lemoyne.
Okay, exactly. Xavier made
It's the how, Chad. It's the how. I saw that Nevada game, and while Nevada's not, we just
Nevada's
said
awful.
Nevada's not very good, but you're dominating them. This is Santa Clara dominating them, and so I think Santa Clara is playing the old BYU role, if you remember, where we know St. Mary's, we know Gonzaga. I think Santa Clara can play that BYU role of being that third team. They need to finish out. Their schedule's not much. They probably need to win at New Mexico or North Texas, one of the two, if not both.
They can.
But they
can win both places.
I know that's the thing. I think this is they need to complete what they're building, but they have a chance to be a team that then allows. It's the exact opposite I was talking about with the Mountain West. You build on each other. And I think they can build on each other where, they're going to have to get a scalp, St. Mary's or Gonzaga scalp in conference. That goes without saying. But if they can finish the job out of conference against Arizona State, et cetera, then, hey, let's let it go, because overall, this conference's metrics are not bad. There's not. I mean, there's some poison here and there, but it is not a bad conference. And when you're looking at tier twos on the road and those sort of things, they're there.
Yeah, Joe, they have a couple games here coming up. This St. Louis game,
that's
a good
huge
metric
one.
game, and then if they get Stanford, that could be another. I mean, they can win that event.
I think they can win that event. I think they will win that event.
I think they can win that event if they outscore both their opponents, Griggs. Absolutely.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that.
it's a smattering of good stuff. Like I said, New
Mhm.
Mexico, Arizona State, North Texas follows that. I mean, that is a schedule that sets you up for a shot here. Not saying it's done, but I think they look good enough I think Griggs and I are on the same page, and they can do it. They really can. I'm rooting for them. And look at those metrics. Look at the Ken Palm metrics. It's better than the Mountain West.
Yeah.
It's hard to win at Xavier this year. Xavier's going to have a hell of a time doing it.
uh, Here's the upcoming schedule here. By the way, as we record this, Oregon jumped out to an 11-0 lead to start the game against Oregon State.
Oh man.
Not a good look for Oregon State so far. But there's in New Orleans again. We've been talking about this team all night. It seems they're playing at Pepperdine Tuesday night.
Yeah,
Uh,
we're gonna get into them again on Wednesday. How interesting story down there.
uh, Gonzaga is playing Southern Utah tonight. I think that game is about a 300-point lead by Gonzaga at halftime right now as we record this. I mean, Gonzaga, Alabama comes up Monday night as part of the Players Era is obviously
Yes.
the game on this schedule here.
Yeah, and that's going to be such a good game. We're dispatching Titel to that game, I think.
You
Are
are.
we?
Hmm.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
You're paying,
You-
right?
Are you going to
What?
dispatch me to Washington State as Chaminade?
Yeah, we'll
man,
dispatch you,
Please?
but we're not going to pay you.
Oh, darn it.
Yeah.
I don't know about the Silver Swords this year, but maybe could they pick up a win in this event here? Wazoo
It's
might
a
be
pretty
beatable.
weak event. They
Yeah.
might be able to. Wazoo is garbage.
Uh, One last league, real quick here, the A10.
Very quickly. Oh,
Very quickly. As we mentioned, VCU just tonight lost that game at NC State to fall to 2-2. Dayton off to a 3-1 start with their loss to Cincinnati.
yeah.
Maybe Titel, maybe Richmond's worth a few seconds.
I
A
think so.
few. So 2 years ago, Coach Chris Mooney had to step away for the team for a little heart surgery. Apparently, he's got a great healthcare plan because he's back and his team's 3-0. Two more home cupcakes this week. They should be 5-0 when heading to Lake Buena Vista for the ESPN Events Invitational next week. And the key has been their ability to get to the line. 27 free throws made per game, number 2 in the nation, and a very deep team, as you see with the stats there. 8 different guys scoring 7 to 14 points, including a couple of local guys who grew up right in Richmond. You got Jaden Daughtry, the junior power forward, averaging 8 and 6, and the freshman shooting guard Aiden Argabright leading the team, 13 points a game.
You know,
Um,
we mentioned Griggs. We mentioned that St. Louis team. I think it's time we give them a bit of of a shout.
yeah.
It's a team. It's a team that I have liked every season heading into the year, and they've always let me down. Especially what they did to the Lopes this past week.
Yeah, that was the most impressive thing, and they've not done much other than play home bye games. But you have to sort of peel back the layers to look at this. But a decisive win over Grand Canyon, a decisive win over SEMO. You might remember SEMO went into Mizzou and nearly beat them. So while their profile, it's not that impressive on the surface. They at least look like they've at least beaten those teams the way a tournament caliber team would beat them. I can say that for them. There's one or two other teams in the league that I think are worth a look. One is George Washington. I'm pretty big on them. Again, not much on their profile. They had a close win over South Florida. South Florida, not exactly a top 40 caliber team, but it was kind of a good win. And then they've just blew Old Dominion and American off the floor. So while again, not the best profile, there is nothing on there that you could look at and point to and say, oh my God, this is going to really carry a lot of weight in March. It's just that when you watch them play, they at least look like a tournament team would look against that kind of competition. I don't know when they're going to see a Middle Tennessee's pretty good. Murray State's pretty good. When is this team going to get tested? Florida?
uh, they play St. Mary's.
Yeah.
They play Florida December 13th. That's a real test. But
Yeah.
but
Chad, pull up Dayton's schedule because we've been talking and bouncing about it.
Yeah.
Dayton 3-1. The thing is, it's not like what they've done has been impressive necessarily. They lose to Miss Cincinnati, but now
Barely beat
what they
UMBC.
have the opportunity to do. Marquette, Georgetown, BYU, Virginia, Florida State, Liberty, who is probably maybe the best under the
Very good.
radar school, you could
Yeah.
argue. So if Dayton, I don't think Dayton's going to make the run, but Dayton, unlike a lot of its fellow peers in the A10, has the opportunity. If all of a sudden they were to go on a streak and win 5 of those 6 games, then maybe
They'll be
we're
ranked in the
talking
top
about it.
10 if they do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I mean, then maybe all of a sudden we're talking, even though the A10 is not going to provide, maybe all of a sudden they earn themselves in that large level sort of thing at that point, as long as they don't do what they did last year. Was it last year or 2 years ago where they actually had
Last year.
a nice resume? It just fell apart in conference. So we'll see.
Yeah, it was last year.
Last year, yeah.
Uh, Well, and it wouldn't be the first time, but some of the better teams holding serve, George Mason still unbeaten, winning their bye games, but it's just Joby likes to beat up on the Mountain West. I beat up on the A10 a lot, but it isn't because I want to see it fail. It's quite the opposite. When you look at some of the programs, when you look at these fan bases, when you look at these markets, and you consider that it is one of just I think 7 or 8 basketball centric conferences. You feel like it. I'm not saying it should be as good as the Big East, but it should be better than what it is. You've got pieces of the Big Five here. You've got VCU and their history with Havoc. You've got Loyola Chicago and their Final Four run. The Bonnies, just a very unique fan base and environment, and George Mason and their history, and
Richmond.
GW, Davidson, Richmond. Why isn't this league better?
Yeah, I say yes. I mean, SLU.
Yeah,
Good,
SLU is another. I mean,
a lot of
yeah.
talent comes out of that area. That's a nice arena. I've actually been there for a wrestling event, not a SLU game, but Chaffetz is a nice arena too. So
Yeah.
there's no reason they shouldn't be good every year.
Uh, I circled probably the 4 most notable upcoming games. Matt, given that your Marquette team is in them, I don't know, but maybe George Washington McNeese is a little bit interesting now on Sunday, though.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, like puts it. GW's gonna, given that schedule, have to have a very gaudy record, and this is one of those to get to the probably 26, 27 wins they might need for an at-large. That's one there. Although I actually think that South Florida win's gonna age real well.
I hope you're right. I hope it does. I would love to see this team put 9, 10 or conference put 9, 10 teams in the NCAA tournament. So for all those that saying, why do you hate the A10? I don't. I love it. I wish it were better. It just isn't.
That does conclude all the conferences for tonight. Let's go to the final thoughts of Titel. Fresh off of Kansas State's thrilling 84-83 win over Tulsa, where they came back from down to 3 in the last minute here to squeeze out the win.
Tulsa
I know
had this and blew it.
I knew you wanted to talk a little K-State, so let me start with you.
This could be the best timed final thought of my life. So we got Kansas State guard David Castillo, who's a big reason the other Big 12 Wildcats are undefeated. He's got a fascinating backstory. So in high school, he was an excellent player, gold medal with Team USA at the 2022 FIBA U17 World Cup, alongside some guy named Cooper Flagg. Last year is the only freshman on the roster in Manhattan, so he only played 10 minutes a game off the bench for a team with a losing record and a terrible three-point shooter, 25%. Apparently, he worked on his shooting a lot last summer because he made 10 of 13 off the bench through his first 3 games, and he just made the go-ahead layup to give his team the 1-point win over Tulsa, and he's leading the nation with 77% shooting behind the arc. So in this era of immediate gratification, we often give up on a guy if he's not a star as a freshman from day one. But let this be a lesson to everyone. If at first you don't succeed, keep shooting.
Keep shooting. There we go. Joey, let me go to you next.
Well, I think what's kind of neat is we are now only a couple of weeks from the release of the net, and that's going to be I'm going to be very interested to see how it pops out. You know, right now, history shows that Ken Palm's probably the closest to the net, but it'll be interesting to see which teams pop up and down. Will records, will a team like, will a team like Texas, for instance, who has a loss to Duke, doesn't really have just a ton else besides it, will they be high in the net or will they get punished for the kind of blowout that they had against Duke and not a lot else? We're going to see it. It's always easiest to figure out actually how a formula is done early on when there are fewer data points, because then you can look at the known data points and say, oh, that's how it's rated. And so it'll be an interesting exercise. I always like to do it when it comes out, and we're looking about 2 weeks out from that.
Yeah, December 1st. Matt.
So I was saying the same thing last year, but it's unfortunately against you this year, and this time Marquette's been dragged down to it. The Big East, it's getting late early to where the Big East needs a very strong feast week in the tournaments and that to have any hope of being more than say like a 3-bid conference. Because right now it's tracking not so great, as our colleague Lito Vecchio mentioned in the email chat, and I did not disagree, unfortunately, because Marquette's dragging it down a little bit with it. Marquette in there, not other games, but playing Dayton, playing Oklahoma at Wisconsin at Purdue needs a bunch of those. And the other ones, yeah, St. John's needs a good players festival. Creighton needs a good players festival. Georgetown in their event needs to get at least one more win to keep their momentum going. If this is going to be a 5-bid league like it was last year, because right now it's definitely not tracking that way.
I don't know. I think everyone seems to be writing Creighton off already, and they only lost the one game, and it's so great team on the road.
Yeah,
So,
they lost decisively, but oh well.
but
I'm with you. I think that it was one very early season game in a tough environment.
but I think you still get there, Matt. Is what I'm saying. I still think you get to a 5-bid league somehow. Just your Marquette team might not be one of those 5.
No, I'd say that's one.
Griggs, you want to finish off the show here?
Yeah, I think so. I've been for the last 10 minutes deciding if I should do this for a final thought, and I'm going to do it eventually. So, going off topic, this is something we've not discussed at all at Hoops HD, at least not on the air. We've talked about it amongst ourselves, and that's the point shaving, the gambling scandals that have going on in college basketball, and that is probably more rampant than what we realize and what we wish it would be. I know that a lot of people follow this site that work in college athletics, and I just want you to understand and communicate to the coaches, to the athletes, the stated reason that the NCAA partnered with these organizations is it was a two-way street. It became easy to police. Gambling is legal. It is not legal within the NCAA. If a basketball player or any college athlete has an account with those sites and they identify them as an athlete, they will report it to the NCAA, whether they're shaving games or not. But that is the reason for the partnership, to allow the NCAA, at least from the NCAA side, to more closely monitor this. And I think it's going to keep happening. And I just don't think people realize how serious it is. It's a crime. Gambling is a legitimate business. If you try and defraud it, these companies do not fuck around. They will come after you, and you're not going to just lose your scholarship. You may be charged with a crime. That's my public service.
Well, that could be a whole podcast at some point, obviously, and I think you are right, Griggs. Just my quick 2 thoughts on it is, look how much they've caught already. There's got to be so much more of it going on, unfortunately, than what they've caught. If you saw the story on Good Morning America with the interview with the kid from New Orleans and all that, it was.
Yeah.
But
if you defraud them, they will come after you. I promise.
anyhow, on that note, I do want to thank everyone for joining us. We will be back Wednesday night with our Under the Radar show, next Monday with another Hoops HD report. But on behalf of John Teitel, Matt Sikowski, Joby Fortson, David Griggs, I'm Chad Sherwood. Thanks for joining us. Talk to you again real soon.